I am glad to welcome everyone to the big recruitment certification program. Yes, or can it be translated as a large certification course in recruiting? And our first lesson is preparing for the search. Well, I'll say right away, as promised, this is the course. We have 2 of them now at the Academy, in which all lecture materials are in English. I think this is a big advantage. Firstly, it is an opportunity to improve the English language. Secondly, those who work in international companies, this is an opportunity to translate all the tools into English without having to take and use them immediately. Yes, that's why we are looking to the future. Yes, we look into the internationality and immediately learn how to do it. A little bit about the course. Why would anyone need to take this course? You will get so much in this particular course for 40 webinars that other people have been collecting all these tools for years in recruiting. That is, you will be pumped. Well, when you pass everything and study everything, try everything, you will bypass the level of knowledge. Well, there are 99.9% of other people. Because this course is very rich in the materials that are in this course. Such an advantage will be for you further. I want to say right away that I think this course is the best and the most voluminous and the most prestigious for a number of reasons. First, 40 hours of training. Yes, it's really voluminous, such a weighty course. A lot of materials. This is well, consider that in each lesson there are on average plus or minus about 10 tools. That is, 400 recruiting tools without thinking that they will give you something somewhere. 40 home buildings are 40 times an opportunity to try something new for yourself and put into practice materials in English. As I said, and this is an opportunity to immediately remember how it's all correctly called in English. That is, it is a readiness for an international career. I will tell you about the diploma later. We issue it on a digital platform based on the most in-depth knowledge in regouting. Here we are also studying sourcing as a new direction of recruiting. And well, you can talk here, you can just watch our participants, our students. Many companies are just trying to poach. Very interested. That is, getting a diploma is very cool. That's the advantage, and that's why it's the coolest course. Also today we will have a link to the self-assessment form, this time in English. That is, you can immediately see how much you already know and a lot of things or have somewhere to strive for. Therefore, the first tool today is a tool for evaluating recruiting competences. There is also sourcing here according to the competence model and immediately find out what level you are at. I will repeat myself with an English translation. Then this site has. This course has a website, so this is what it looks like, a recruitment certificate course. Yes, and suddenly we don't know someone. I'll tell you a little about myself. My name is Mike Pritchula. He started his career as a recruiter at Alpha Bank. I was engaged in the selection and training of loan specialists. Then I came to Starlight Media to create a recruitment department. I have already created it successfully. There were up to 12 recruiters. I had a role in wargaming that was slightly different from recruiting. Well, I was already doing it as a manager and I was building HR, including recruiting from scratch. Therefore, I can say that I have been doing a lot of things in recruiting for 15 years, practicing, building, creating, implementing, and, of course, I know a lot of things. Therefore, there is something to share in this course and I rely on the best world practices. Here is a list of companies that I also recommend you to track, in principle. And of course, as I said, there will be homework assignments, the completion of which allows you to get our diploma. On the terms of obtaining all our diplomas, you need to do your homework, which will be accepted, which will not need to be finalized. But if it needs to be finalized, you will have a recommendation on how to finalize this home building and there will be a chance to continue this. Diploma. This one is beautiful. We issue our diploma on the leading digital platform where more than 1,000 companies issue their diplomas. And more than 1 million diplomas are issued to her monthly among Google, Slack, Zanz, Harvard University and many others. That is, your diploma will be issued really on a super platform. Here you have it, you can download it, you can arrange it in the DAN tapes, you can just share it as a link. There are many possibilities. Let's move on. The program of this course is very rich in 40 webinars. Here they are all listed here. We start with the search preparation stage, but we also touch on charm marketing, of course, sourcing. We go through the evaluation of candidates in great detail, all sorts of negotiations, mass recruitment of wonder, offers, work with these vacancies, hat hunting, reporting, boiling slay, the process of automating recruitment management. In general, that's all you can know in recruiting. Everything that can be done, it's all there. This is a really super practical course. Today's lesson we will talk about how to analyze an application, how to take a preliminary search, create a preliminary search map and study the market and prepare a report. This will be a step-by-step session before the meeting with the hiring manager. Yes, we have. The second lesson is a meeting with the hiring manager. In general, each lesson goes through in detail. That is, today's lesson is about the stage when, for example, you receive an application for selection and you are trying to do something with it, that is, analyze it, somehow prepare. We are not talking about the description of the text of vacancies yet. Will it be? We are not talking about the development of scorecards. It will be. We are not talking about search. So far, yes, that is, it's all ahead. Now you are at the stage when you received an application for selection. This stage is before the meeting with the hiring manager. This stage can be during the meeting with the hiring manager and this stage and after the meeting with the occupying manager when you send him or her a flip. That's when it starts. What are the results of this stage? Understanding the approximate number of candidates on the market in the form of a figure. This is important when you start a search. That is, you should always know if you are looking among 100, 10 or thousands, or 10,000 or us very much. It also allows you to be more precise. This helps to understand the average market wage. This gives an understanding of the attractiveness of the company's offer on a scale from 1 to 10. To immediately understand how difficult it will be to close this vacancy. Yes, there will be a situation with candidates. It will also help you to understand the recruiting funnel, how you will fill it, how many different actions will need to be done. This will allow you to update the search map, prepare a report to an attentive manager. And as a result of this stage, you get a really satisfied hiring manager who realizes that their recruitment application is in very reliable hands and it will be nice to work with you, that you will not be treated superficially or chaotically. What does the application for selection look like? The application for selection is a document that is filled out in advance. Or in some companies, a very simplified version is filled in advance and is already filled in by the manager at the meeting with the recruiter. Detailed application for selection. My application for selection, which I developed for the STB TV channel, differs from the standard ones in that there are some additional questions that you will not always meet. For example, what level of expertise is required and immediately refer to different salary levels, what tasks need to be completed in the next 3 months, for example, to successfully pass the probation period. But the requirements are divided into mandatory, desirable. There are also applications right here. The hiring manager needs to choose the degree of the recruiter's work, how much it will be with detailed elaboration, but more thorough, and, as a result, longer or some minimal involvement of the recruiter is required, but super fast when the recruiter generates minimally selected resumes. That's where the responsibilities go next. And again, what goals and tasks need to be fulfilled there in the near future. This is the format of the application. What's next? We receive such a completed application or a partially completed one. Then we arrange a meeting and fill it out before. Here it is important to think about the current employees. You know, people often ask me where to look for these non-existent people. Where to look for this some kind of narrow specialization of people, of whom there are very few. Or there, for example, we have no competitors, there are no people in such positions anywhere else. The first thing I recommend is that it is always useful for a recruiter to look at the current employees who work in the company in this position, where they worked before and by whom. What do they have indicated in the profile of the position? Yes, if they work for you, they fit you, then their profile is already a sample. What courses, certificates, and educations did they receive? That is, the first thing that can be done as useful as possible after receiving a recruitment application is to look at current employees. Yes, to see, but these people have been selected, they are working. They probably weren't fired, so they are gone. This is it, we just need to counter yes, or, as they say, copy-paste. Well, just find it on the market. That's why the files of current employees can give you a lot of useful information. Always watch it. You can view the profiles of past employees if there are few current ones there. For example, if the company does not have such people now, but the hiring manager used to work with such employees, then you can ask where and which company. Go to the links down and search for the same people's manager in that last company. Yes, that is, you need to, well, try specifically with this hiring manager to see who he hired earlier. This can give a lot of information. Further, when we analyze the requirements, we analyze the requirements for certain stages rather than for ourselves. To begin with, just narrow the funnel. To begin with, we understand the geography in which city it is, or is it a remote repair vacancy. Then the geography is huge. Job titles, which are suitable here and which keywords are not suitable, what should be a salary resumed by wives, and at the exit we get a certain narrow number of candidates with whom we work. Analyzing the application and preparing for the search allows you to search more focused and more purposefully. And it allows you to do what should happen in recruiting. When we are looking for not just like in a dark room, there we are trying to find our candidate. And when we have a clear view of the market, we understand where it could potentially be. And we are just already working out a space that is understandable to us. Not abstract, not something we haven't even seen. That is, it is important in recruiting to understand that this is the whole universe of candidates. It is limited. Yes, she has a certain number of candidates with an understanding of where these people work. When it's all there, then it's easier to search. Then it turns out not a search, but rather a study. That is, we are just working through candidate companies, going through, contacting. Here, well, for the hiring manager, this is no longer just some chaotic movements in an attempt to somehow find a candidate, but these are specific targeted actions that should eventually lead to us. Plus, when all this is done, the hiring manager has no desire. And let's look again somehow better. There, the hiring manager gets the idea that the market is limited, that we have worked it out to some extent, that here are the candidates. It is necessary to demolish among them to choose, or to change the market. But we will not wait endlessly for some super magical candidate to appear. Superman. Yes, that is, the hiring manager should not have such feelings. The hiring manager should have a sense of a limited amount of market. So here's a selection from this volume. Let's move on. The first thing to do after we have looked at the files of current people is to read useful information about the vacancy and about the position. The first source that can be recommended is, of course, Wikipedia. Yes, there are a lot of articles. Sometimes you can't even imagine that such interesting topics in different directions can be described there. The second one is already a profile resource directly. When you write, for example, what does the title of the position mean, or who is in the title of the position? And then you just find profile sites that you might not even have guessed. For example, if I'm looking for some kind of job to enter the industry on Habra, such a resource. There are a lot of profile articles that will give much more than, for example, Wikipedia. And so, for each position there is a photo profile resource where you can read, and there will be a lot of useful information. Even if you have previously heard about such activities, I still recommend reading about such candidates. Yes, there can always be some fresh, new information for you. Probably an exception, only if you close these vacancies in batches. Yes, you have several financial managers every month. And now the next vacancy comes, and yes, it is clear that many of these things are already familiar to you, unknown further. A very important point of preparation for the search and preparation for work with vacancies is the search for synonyms and their analysis, their elaboration. Because we live in a world where people don't call themselves the same. People have different names, and many call it in English. Even if we don't know this, we risk missing an important part of potential candidates. Yes, they will come to our published vacancy, of course, because they may have different positions in the resume, but they understand that their and their experience and our vacancy are the same thing. But when we search on our own, we are severely limited. If we are limited to only one job title, because, for example, the same developer can be written in different ways, software, VIA engineer or Java developer there, or just developer, or programmer, or developer, or full stack or backend there. Yes, there are many different similar names that people can use. If we are just looking for the word developer, then we are severely limiting ourselves. If we know that this word has 5 synonyms there, we may even expand the potential gender of candidates several times. Therefore, it is extremely important to know the synonyms of the title of the position, especially if the position is some new one that you have not worked with before. So how to search? The first one, you can view candidates on the Melon link, find their profiles and see what positions they worked in. People often work in similar positions, but due to the fact that they may have slightly different names in different companies. That's it. That's how many times I analyzed. I saw that the posts are similar, but they alternate. You can also look at all possible job sites for the same. Yes, we are looking for profile candidates and see what positions they had. We can also use the job director on the Melon link. They have such job directors. This is what it looks like. You click on a position of interest and it shows vacancies for this position with all sorts of synonyms. That is, LinkedIn has such a cool function, and LinkedIn himself knows a synonym. By the way, he does not apply it everywhere. When you do a job title search, it doesn't use by synonym. Well, here it shows. Then there are possible databases of synonyms. Here is one of them. There is certainly more, I would say, probably to find a position, although not to take in principle many others. That's easy. Their people have analyzed resources such as Melon Blades and have already prepared a list of synonyms, so here you can look further. Another way, it is essentially the same as this one. Only immediately you go to the vacancies, write the name of the position, choose your country first, then look there. For example, in the USA, the links in the job search show synonyms of positions. When you specified a vacancy, for example, I wrote one vacancy name there, it showed alternatives. This is also an option to learn about those synonyms that exist for work. So, well, accordingly, we go on to understand how much we need. More precisely, not how many we need, but how many candidates there are in general. The next step, what are we interested in when we already know the title of the position and how many such people are there? Here is the number of people. It goes into our report as well. In planning a search strategy. Therefore, the easiest way, one of the easiest ways to understand how many possible candidates there are is in the Dennis market. Use the search by people, specify the city in which we are limited. Or if we look at the scale of the country, then we indicate the whole country, indicate the name of the position we are looking for and see the results. For example, here I indicated the product manager Kiev, I got 2,000 results. What's next? Can we use additional keywords to this job title to narrow down the number of potential candidates?
названию должности, чтобы сузить количество потенциальных кандидатов.
Yes, for example, some keywords that are in the candidate's profile, some that are unique and relate to hard skills, that is, that describe some professional jargon of a person for understanding.
Которые описывают какой-то профессиональный жаргон человека. Для понимания,
And how many
сколько есть
people are there who
людей,
meet these criteria?
соответствующих вот таким критериям.
Next, we need to think through the portrait of our ideal candidate.
Портрет нашего идеального кандидата.
That's who he is. The better we understand, the easier it will be to search.
Будет проще искать.
Why? For example, experienced recruiters close vacancies faster and easier than those who face a vacancy for the first time. An experienced recruiter already has a portrait of the ideal candidate in his head. A person just finds it quickly, sees it quickly.
И быстро его видит.
When a vacancy is new, usually there is no such portrait. Well, just because we didn't even think about it. Therefore, it is useful to think about what our ideal candidate is. Where will we look for him?
Где мы будем его искать? Да,
Yes, in what geography, in what cities, what can he have?
У него может быть
The
название
title of the position in different languages, in which companies can he work?
он может работать, да,
Yes, that is, to make an example of a company. What keywords can be in the profile and what salary expectations?
какие зарплатные ожидания.
This is what you need to think about in advance, so that you can then look for the plot of this person. When such a portrait is drawn up, then you can already look further. We have to do a market analysis. Yes, the first option to analyze the market is to see how many companies there are for the required position in your city.
Сколько компаний есть по требуемой позиции в вашем городе?
For example, write how many IT companies are there in Kiev.
IT-компаний.
Yes, if it is to find a company in Kiev. You can see that such and such a number of companies in Kiev, for example.
В Киеве компании. Например,
Here I found some website. Here, of course, it will be necessary to show such creativity a little. For example, I found a website that claims that there are 1,600 companies in Kiev, or rather in Ukraine.
1600 компаний.
Then I found a website where it says that 40% of them are in Kiev. Well, I understand that 640. Then I asked myself, okay, if there are 640 companies in Kiev, how many companies have such a position?
Количество компаний имеют такую должность.
Well, for the position I have chosen, I make the assumption that all companies have it.
Во всех компаниях.
Then I ask, okay, and how many such employees in each company on average?
Каждой компании.
So I make an assumption, for example, 3. Then I multiply the 640 found number of companies by the percentage in which I believe there are such positions and on average by the number of people in the position.
Количество людей на должности.
It turns out that I have again, as there were 1,920 people on the link. The same can be tried on the leading jobs of the site. Yes, specify the name of the position, take a search by the name of the position, specify the city, and on different sites see how many candidates the site finds there. So you can try to search for statistics specifically by the title of the position. It's all like here. Yes, how many product managers are there in Kiev? It sounds like such questions for Google. You can still try to start the number of product managers in Kiev, and if you're lucky, you'll find some information. I almost found it here, but I couldn't find the exact information. Next, when you have an approximate understanding of how many people you need to understand how much they earn, you can either use official salary market reviews when buying. Well, usually this company buys about providers such as Hay and vice versa. You can see job sites and what vacancies are published there. Yes, there may be salaries on a number of job sites for a number of positions in vacancies, too. Look at the candidate's resume. Only here you can see the latest resumes, because there may be resumes that are very old. As you know, the salary is also indicated in the resume. You can analyze past hires for what amounts you hired. You can talk to colleagues in the market, you can ask around from the candidates themselves, collect information. Or can there be some narrow resources for your industry? Yes, which publish salary data again. Plus, there is such a selection of very cool different sources about salaries. Some of them are just for you, some are not only for these around the world. For example, Glassdoor is not only these Edith Monster there. On these sites, too, you can see some information about salaries that we will not be able to inform an understanding of the market salary. How to understand the market volume accordingly? Yes, you analyze the information found by the bottom links from how you manually counted jobs. This is in some kind of statistics. And now you have an approximate understanding of how many such people there are. That's also why we need to count not only those who hold a direct position. These may be people who are around the desired position. Yes, that is, plus or minus above, below, left, right. These are also potential candidates, especially considering that companies may not be quite accurate. It's not exactly an accurate approach to what the position is called. That is, can it be there? I don't know. The company has him as a junior, and he is actually middle. Yes, the company called it like this, but it actually performs a slightly different function. As a result, approximately there, having formed this idea, yes, we should reach an understandable number of people, among whom we will look for about 100 or 300 people. Yes, here, which correspond to the profile. Then, before meeting with the hiring manager, it is very useful to pre-select the profiles of people, those whom you think they can fit the vacancy, even for yourself. You can do this by the name of the position you already know, plus synonyms by geography and adding keywords that allow you to sort people. If you get a very large sample, you add keywords. If the sample is small, look on the contrary at some synonyms. As you can tell directly on the melon link. You can use them with search, which we will talk about later in this course. Yes, for example, this is how to score a search and it will find you a candidate. Again, you can use keywords to expand or narrow the selection. Then there are several tools that can help you at the stage of preparing for the search. This stage of studying profiles is thereafter the information. Firstly, there is a cool tool for IT vacancies called Glossary. This is a plugin for Google Chrome or Microsoft Edge that you install and it displays all the technical terms on the screen. You can check the boxes to select the ones that are the ones that interest you. There is also a universal multi-highlight. Just write keywords and it displays them on the screen or highlight them. What's the idea? The idea is that when you use keywords to highlight text on a page, you find it easier. Yes, that is, you analyze all these profiles faster your eyes find what you need and are interested in, and do not need to read or do not need to use. How often do we do? Run a search on the Control F page, for example, or yes, and try to find, does he have an AU profile or not? If there is, where, as described. These are the tools. Next, we analyze and rank the profiles found, that is, we look through the profiles, look at the history of posts, what keywords are there and how much the profile as a whole is alive, whether there was any activity there, who works, how fresh the information is. Next, we evaluate the attractiveness of the job offer. It is important to understand this for yourself. If you feel what you feel, you've appreciated. You see that the driver is not very attractive, it needs to be discussed at the meeting and think about how something can be done with the offer so that it is more attractive. What influences the attractiveness of the offer? I can say that attractiveness is almost an equal sign. Probability of closure. The first is how many candidates there are on the market. The bigger the market, the more attractive this job offer is for someone and the higher the chances that the vacancy can be closed. But on the contrary, if there are few candidates, it is more difficult to interest a small number. Then how much is the market salary? If the salary is not in the market, of course, what will we look for longer? Harder? To what extent are there career development prospects? Yes, how much can a person, having come to this company, still grow by 1 or 2 levels there? What bonuses exist? How interesting are they? A package of benefits, what kind of office it is, how good it is, how much flexibility there is in the work and the company's brand, reputation, manager. These basic characteristics will allow you to understand the attractiveness of the offer. Yes, how much can you demand? There are no requirements for candidates or not so much. Next, it is very important to evaluate the recruitment funnel. Here we will have it in English. And not even to estimate, but to some extent to predict. Now I'll show you how it works. This means that when you click on the link, such a document is copied from you and there are several tabs in this document. The first is recruitment channels, the second is a funnel simulator. So recruitment channels. The team and I once sat here and assessed how attractive different recruiting channels are from the point of view of this very recruiting. That is, we had such an internal question for ourselves, which channels should we bet more on? And so we evaluated. You can overestimate this for yourself, so we have written out the main channels: mass mailing, SMM job, website and sourcing, agency recommendations and so on. And we evaluated the quality of candidates, speed, price, effort and sample size. That's where the sourcing turned out to score the most points. You can overestimate this for yourself. Then there is a set of questions about the conversion of your current funnel, which you need to put numbers in order to better plan your job searches further. You can take information from your past closed vacancies based on your experience. Yes, to understand what the numbers may be here. That is, what percentage of candidates added to the funnel responds to the contact, how many candidates we call from the selected ones, how many people we invite for interviews, and so on. This then gets here, and by putting the number of vacancies that we want to close at the bottom, we get how many candidates we need to add to our funnel from different sources at the top. This allows us to understand immediately before the start of the search that our task is to find and add 114 candidates to the funnel. Yes, it will be a volume of work. This is already good, and it is good for the occupying manager to discuss with him or her, to say from. According to the current conversion rates for my other vacancies, I see that we will need to find 114 candidates. Yes, I will be with 30 eager to find them in 6 weeks, for example. Yes, this is the average search time. Here I plan to conduct 40 telephone interviews. I plan to conduct 20 personal interviews. I expect about 10. As a result, I will present to you and we will hire one. Of course, it won't. You won't wait all 10, and I'll show you there one by one. Then you lay out this funnel for yourself on different search channels. That is, here, having already evaluated the search channels, you look at what percentages, where is it better to scatter? Yes, which sources do you rely more on? Plus, you look at the search sources, here you prescribe some about yourself. Yes, where do you expect responses from? Here are the recommendations. Where do you expect? Well, where will you look for passive candidates on your own? They scattered 100%. That is, we figured out where you will get candidates from. Then look at the weeks, how your download will be. Well, about this can be a breakdown of 100%, respectively, for each channel. Here such a plan appears. Yes, how many should be found or added in each channel in the first week? And then more is added by summation, until we reach the required number of candidates by the end of the 6th week. Yes, and here we then put a percentage, more precisely the current statistics, and look at the percentage of how much we are progressing. But that's not all. This is already having data on the funnel. The same file allows us to analyze weekly, plan how many different types of interviews we need to conduct. Again, it is very convenient to plan your own efforts and then check. Are we on schedule or not on schedule? If we did everything right, yes, then we are almost guaranteed and we follow all the plans. Here we are almost guaranteed to close the vacancy in the 6th week. And at the end of the file there is a forecasting tool already for a specific candidate, not in general for candidates, not in general for. Vacancy for a specific candidate. How much do we believe that the candidate will accept our job offer? Yes, we put 0 or 1 here. Here, too, there is a set of criteria. Thus, we put the number 1 there and get how many % of the probability that the driver will be accepted. That's how it works. Funnel forecast. Again, this is first of all very convenient for yourself, because there is an understanding of where, what to do when, and then you can check. Yes, am I not lagging behind on this vacancy of Uther? There are a lot of vacancies, so each vacancy is tracked and it can then be shown to the hiring manager. That is, the hiring manager analyzes the funnel. So he says that this was the plan for this week. That's how much I managed to find. Are we going according to plan or are we falling behind? So you need to catch up there somehow. Maybe the hiring manager is dragging out some questions on himself further and further. It is very useful at the preparation stage to make such a small market report for the hiring manager. Indicate approximately how many candidates there are, indicate the average market salary, indicate your assessment of the attractiveness of the driver. Specify how the funnel will look, that is, give a link to this file and show some sample profiles that you have found. It will be a good preparation. This will be the template for this report of yours. You will also have it in the form of additional materials today, and in the form of additional materials there will be an application for selection. Yes, that is, you show it. And the hiring manager understands that, in principle, you have prepared well, understands what he or she is preparing for. Here will be a link to the funnel. There will be a link to the profiles, that is, to a meeting with the hiring manager. So you will be super prepared, and I am sure well. Please, at least my recruiters who used a similar approach. They have always received a very tactically positive, adequate response from the hiring manager and the willingness of the hiring manager to cooperate, to work with the full understanding that the recruiter is professional. Then what else is useful to do at the stage when you are viewing profiles? I would recommend that you go down the profile in people, in the interests section, go into groups and be added to relevant groups. Why? Because adding you to this group may take some time, and you will need these groups in order to search for and contact a candidate. So once again, the interest section is at the bottom of the candidate's profile. Not everyone has it. But since you will already be viewing the first candidates, you will see about the phrases. Just scroll down, find the interest section and go to the group section. Then there are groups that have many participants. Yes, like here, for example, 91,000. Try to add to them. Press rest to join. Somewhere you will be added within an hour, somewhere a day, 2, 3. Well, in general, it's better to do it all in advance. How are groups useful? This is such a life hack. Group is useful because through them you can contact people without even adding them as friends. And you know that LinkedIn's on restrictions on adding 100 people to friends, well, about 100 a week, respectively, it's just very little. But the restriction groups have about 100 contacts a day, that is, much more can be contacted. You can find the members of the group here on the right when you have already been added, and only when you have been added to the group, press Sign and then write the name and surname of your candidate whom you want to contact and can write to him. That is, look here, even the second, even the third circle. There is no one here now, but really, the third round. A message button appears, a dialog opens and it says, since you and such a person are in a group, you can write directly without adding to contacts, without using InMail. This is very cool, but again, because it will take time until you are added. It is very good already at this stage to be added to all kinds of groups. Well, at the end of the homework. This is our first lesson dedicated to preparing for the search. Please fill out a market analysis for any of your vacancies in the format of our template. So attach a link or file to your homework in your personal account. This is a homework assignment for those who are already on the course with us. If you are not already enrolled in our course, I invite you. I definitely recommend it because, as I said at the beginning, this is a very strong, powerful course in which, well, I would say, something is collected. Even so, I will estimate somewhere from 5 to 7 other courses, yes, recruiting. That's why you will go for one course. That people pass there for years further, so I'll tell you right away what will happen on the second shooting. Next we will talk about the meeting with the hiring manager. We will discuss how else to prepare for such a meeting, how to quickly establish contact at the meeting, what to ask at the meeting, and how to discuss the work process so that it would be comfortable to continue working with this manager. These are the topics further on this today. Thank you all for your attention. Once again, I invite you to take this course. Well, see you soon. I hope we will see each other either on the course or on other open ones. That's all for now.